So why is a FICO credit score, why are they crucial in today's world? I call it the new economic game. A FICO or credit score is developed by FICO, a company that uses predictive analysis, which means they take information and analyze it to predict what's likely to happen. In the case of credit scores, FICO scores look at a range of credit information and use those scores that help lenders predict consumer behavior, such as how likely is someone to pay their bills on time or not, or if they're able to handle a large credit line. Virtually all lenders use credit scores. This is the new economic game. So, in my opinion, if you are not able to use the concept of credit scores and manipulate those scores, you're going to have a very tough life, because everybody uses credit scores. It's not just the bankers out here. Insurance companies are using it. Life insurance companies, medical companies, health. Why? I mean, you think why? Because it reveals your behavior. Why would a life insurance company want to know how you spend your money? Well, if you're bungee jumping in Australia, maybe you might have a little higher rate. They look at your lifestyle. Why would medical companies or health companies want to see? Well, if they see you buy cigarettes every other day at the local Circle K, they know you're going to have cancer. Big Brother has invaded our lives completely, and it's never going to change. So either you're going to adapt and play the new economic game, or you're going to let it control you. There are three companies that basically rule your life. Those companies are Experian, and you can go to Experian.com, Equifax.com, or TransUnion.com. A lot of folks think that, I've got one good credit score at Experian. That's not true. We look at all three. We use a tri-merge. We average the three scores. Some companies do just use one. But it is possible to have different information on different companies because they pull it from various sources. In a perfect world, they would all be the same, but it doesn't work that way. So you've got to pay attention to all three. Now, back in the day, you could get your credit report or your credit information. They won't give you the scores unless you pay for them. They'll give you the credit report, one free a day. Because of the uncertain society that we live in today, the new rules are you can get one every 7 days. I just got back from Alpine, and I know Deb has a place up there too, and it was just the most beautiful 7 days of my life. It was in the 70s. It rained, saw elk, even saw a bear. It was a wonderful time. I get home, open my mail. Well, what do you know? Somebody's trying to apply for unemployment on my salary for all the years that I worked, and I even got the credit card. And I'm like, great. The vacation enjoyment is gone. So I had to deal with that all day Monday. And it goes to show you that if these people get your information, they can just nail you. Employers, you want a job. Employers are going to pull a credit score. I use the example when I'm in the classroom with the students. In Yuma, we have a Yuma Proving Ground, and we've got a company called Trax. And say it's an engineering job for $200,000. We've got two students, both great individuals, that are applying for this job. They are virtually matched in every area. The final thing they do is they go to the credit report. They pull a credit report. One student has a 760. One student has a 660. Who do you think gets the job? The student with a better credit report. Because a credit report reveals your character. Are you a man or woman of your word? Do you pay your bills on time? Do you do what is right? Do you honor contracts? That is what it's all about today. Now, credit scores are between 300 and 850. And I'll go through them the national average is about 695. that's going to fluctuate a little bit. 300 to 579, don't even bother. Don't even show up. Banks won't even look at you unless you're above 700. 580 to 669, yeah, you may get some people to finance you, but they're going to rob you blind because you've got terrible credit scores. And 670 to 739 is considered decent, good, but like I say, you got to at least be at 700 to warrant a bank looking at you. To get what we call A paper, I did commercial loans for many years. To get A paper, which is the lowest rate, interest rate, you know, you'll see these car commercials, they do the bait and switch with you, you know, APY, you know, approved credit, then they check your credit. Usually to get the A paper, you've got to have somewhere in the range of 760, 770. That gets you the lowest rate. I've had a credit score over 800 only once in my life. Your credit score fluctuates because of what goes on. I can share this information with you later because of the problems, but I'm going to give you how you actually calculate a credit score. So if you guys just want to draw a little pie chart for me, there's 5 components. You can also get this, and my sincere desire is both students and educators and parents use this. You can go to Equifax.com, TransUnion.com, or Experian.com. Another one I like is MyFICO, MyFICO.com. Use their educational sites, and they will have this chart on there for you. Now, what is the most important thing about credit? Well, let me tell you what my dad shared with me and how it got me in trouble. My dad wanted to be a lawyer, didn't quite make it in law school, and then started out as a bank teller. He ended up starting his own bank and was the CEO and president. Let me share my credit speech from my dad. It was 5 words. Pay your bills on time. Gee, thanks, Dad, for going to the detailed explanation, but that was his speech, you know, and let me show you how it affected me. Now, after University of Arizona, I went to, I moved back to Yuma. I was 21, looked 13, had pimples. You know, people didn't really want to take my financial advice at New York Life because they couldn't understand how a pimpled 13-year-old would know more than them. So I moved out to L.A. and got a job. I ended up working for check cashing centers, and then I ended up starting my own with a business partner out there. And after the, you know, I made good money. It was a good time. You know, I thought I was an adult functioning. And then unfortunately, we had that bad experience of the Rodney King situation, Rodney King riots. And I'm like, that's it. I got to get out of here. I'm going to get killed. You know, they were killing check cashing owners left and right. So that was my last day. However, I felt like I was an adult. I remember this vividly. This was, oh my gosh, almost 30 years ago. Paying my American Express bill. I've never felt like such an adult in my life. It was, my final bill was $200. I was going to close it out, and it was a Continental money order, and I put it $200, final bill, close out American Express. Now that's one other issue that I blew it right there, is never close out a credit card, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I paid that bill, sent it off, and I felt like this functioning adult society. About 6 months later, I get a call from this bill collector, and he says, hey, and I mean, this guy was the rudest individual I'd ever met. These are before the bill calling collection laws were changed. This guy called me every name in the book, and I said, listen, I remember paying this bill. It was a Continental money order, $200. You know, you can blank yourself too, sir. Have a good day. Slam down the phone. Forgot about it. Remember, my only teaching from my dad was the 5 words, pay your bills on time. Well, a couple months later, we're in Bill Alexander Ford here in Yuma, sitting with my dad. They're good friends. My dad's purchased several vehicles for him, and he's well, you know, I want the boy to have, sign on his own and buy his own credit. And Mr. Alexander said, I can't do that. My dad said, Bill, I purchased 6 cars from you. Let's go. I need him to sign on his own. He holds up a paper and says he has a collection for American Express for $200. Make a long story short, the veins in my dad's head were popping out about 3 inches, and I could see the throbbing. I thought I was going to get a throttling right there in Mr. Alexander's office, and he said, Bill, we need to go. We'll come back. Let me tell you, as an adult, I think I was 26, 27 years old, that was the worst and most embarrassing day of my life. That's one of the reasons I want to have the passion to share this with everybody. Financial literacy basically is not taught in schools. Did you learn about credit scores in schools? Did they tell you the effects of it? Did they tell you it could ruin your life, put your life on hold? Well, needless to say, I got over that day without getting, and these were back in the days when your dads could have a little sterner lecture with you. We'll just put it that way. And we moved on from that. And I realized I had a deficiency in my life. I couldn't buy my own car in my name. So I started working on it. And I'll get back to that story later, but I'll tell different stories as I go through the thing. So let me give you how to actually calculate your score. But that's what opened my eyes and gave me the passion to share this knowledge. So obviously, what's the most important thing? 35% of your score is what my dad told me. Do you pay your bills on time? But it's a lot more than that. Do you pay what you agreed to pay in the contract? Do you pay on the correct date? Do you pay on time? And you do all that, that is the major part of your credit score. Now, I could go on for a day on just payment history. That's why I want to reinforce the fact, use those other credit sites, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, to educate yourself and to educate your students and to create tests and go from there. Because it is very complicated. But once you learn how to do that, you can manipulate your score easily. Number 2 is amounts owed, which is 30%. How much people do you owe? When I'm in a classroom, I love having fun with kids. I said, first 4 students, just say yes. No matter what I say, just please say yes. And I go through, hey, can I borrow Benji? Can I borrow Benjamin? Can I borrow $100? Please, man, I need some help. And the first 4 students say yes. And I go to the 5th student and I say, I want you to use your logic and answer the question, can I borrow $100? After what you've seen, I've borrowed $400 already from 4 different individuals. Can I borrow $100 from you? Actually, some students say yes. I'm like, well, you've got a kind heart, and you're going to have a hard life unless you learn how to manage your money. Then I'll go to the next person. And finally, the student will say, no. I said, I'm not going to lend you $100. And I said, why? He goes, because you borrowed it from all these other students. I said, exactly. That home run. That's how a credit score is determined. If you owe JCPenney's, if you owe Dillard's, if you owe Ford, you owe all these people all this money, what is the likelihood that you're going to pay that money back? It's not very good, is it? Not at all. It's just those 2 factors, payment history and amounts owed. That's 65% of your credit score. That's the majority of it. You can get a good handle on those. You can manipulate your score very well. There is another part. Length of credit history is 15%. Now, it's not quite as heavy as those others, but it adds up. So what is length of credit history? Well, how long have you been entering into financial contracts? How long have you had a credit card? How long have you done these things? Now, at this point, I'm going to spin off because I'm going to use some of the questions that I had from the previous class. And that is a great question. Well, how do I build my credit? Well, in the United States today, they have changed the credit laws. You cannot get a credit card until you're 21. You cannot rent a car until you're 25. You can enter into financial contracts at 18. And that's really the only way you can do it. There is one other way, and I've got to put a caveat on it because I've had parents come after me with pitchforks or guardians. You can put a minor on a credit card or a debit card with your permission. However, if they mistreat it, that's between them. And I do not suggest this. I'm just saying I was asked for all of the options. And that is an option if you want to build it up. However, if you're 18, a lot of students don't go to college. They'll get into a trade school, or they'll rent an apartment, start working right away. So how do they build credit? Now they track everything financial you do. Your electric bill, your water bill. Don't ever pay those late. Phone bill, your rent. Don't write a bad check to the grocery store. They'll put you on check systems. You get on check systems, you come into the bank, I'm not going to give you a debit card. Big Brother is tracking you at every single corner. And like I say, this is the new economic game. Either you're going to grasp it and have a good life and you'll be able to protect your family in emergencies and do things, or you're not going to pay attention to it and can haunt you at every corner. It's going to prohibit you from getting the job you wanted. It can even prohibit you from marrying who you want. A lot of people don't know Arizona is a community property state. What that means, once you slip that ring on your spouse's finger, oh, it's great if they have a lot of assets and don't owe money. But guess what? If the person you marry has $200,000 in debt, the second you slip that ring on, and after you say, I do, and he pronounces you man and wife, or in any marriage ceremony, you own that debt. Arizona is a community property state, which means you own the assets, but you also own the debt of your spouse. So I see a lot of young ladies and even young men when I'm in my class perk up. I'm like, before you get married, run a credit report on your spouse. Why do you want to start out life in debt? I mean, it's a sad fact in society today that we have to do that, but I mean, it's realistic. This is part of understanding financial literacy. So, going back to the last two on our pie chart, we went payment history 35%, amounts owed 30%, length of credit history 15%, and told you some of the ways they can build credit. The last two are both 10%. That is new credit and credit mix. What are those? Well, new credit is, this is where I really like to pick on the females and students and the thing, and I say, how many of you guys like shopping? How many of you guys, when the new mall goes down there, you go down there and you get a Mervin's card or a Dillard's card, and I said, and you want to have the fancy new purse, you want to have the fancy new shirt. That's great. If you can afford it, you got a job, you can afford it, more power to you. But it can get you in trouble. So they look at the amount of new credit that you add on there. So be judicious in the amount of credit that you add on there. I always say have 2 credit cards. Why have 2 credit cards? Well, what if you're stuck at, I'm sure most of you have driven through Gila Bend on the way to San Diego or Yuma. What if you broke down in Gila Bend and they don't take MasterCard and that's all you had? They only take Visa. Or they don't take American Express, they only take Visa. I would have at least 2 cards so you have the ability to go get a cash advance somewhere, or you can pay the dealer if you're broken down. Because the whole idea about financial security is protecting your family and having an escape route because you don't have the money at that point in time to pay for it. Everybody, I say expect the unexpected in life because that's going to happen every single time. Now, here's one of my wife calls me the cheapest man in America. I'm proud to wear that title. I am very proud to wear that title because there's always someone reaching their hand in my pocket. Goodness gracious. I'm going to tell you about a time when I didn't even leave my backyard. And this is for students because it's important. We were just starting out as a family. We just moved from the condo to buy the bigger house and had the pool and the whole 9 yards. So, of course, I was to take care of the pool and the yard. I really didn't have a passion for the pool. I turned it green, and I got fired. The only job I've ever gotten fired from in my entire life, I got fired for being the pool guy by my wife because I turned it green. That's fine. I hate messing with the pool. But my yard, I love edging and mowing my yard and making it look nice, especially when as I told you, I went to University of Arizona, and I love watching my Wildcat basketball and looking out, having my yard watered, looking all nice. So I'm getting ready to do that one day. Mind you, this is before 9 o'clock in the morning. I go out and I mow the lawn and I start doing the edging, which is my favorite part, putting those nice corners on there and little edges. And the pool gentleman comes. And I wave to him, say hi, And about 10 minutes later, let me share something with you. Whenever a mechanic or any kind of person that works on machines walks towards you with a part in their hand, his or her hand, it's going to cost you money. And I was like, holy smokes. He comes over, and my heart starts beating faster and faster. Because remember, I'm the cheapest man in America, and I know this is going to cost me money. He comes over, and he asked me, he said, he starts explaining it, and I said, listen, I'm a novice. I don't understand this. Tell me what it does. Is it essential to make the motor run and keep the pool clean? He said yes. I'm like, okay, how much is it? $2,000. Well, I just bought the big new house with the pool. I got the wife, got, the diaper bills. Oh, my God. I did not have that amount of money on me. I mean, we were living paycheck to paycheck, just, family starting out. I said, okay, here's my Visa card, go do it. Because I had decent credit at that time, after I had already learned my lesson after the Amex fiasco of not following up, I did the right thing. I paid my bill, but I did not follow it up to make sure it was paid. So I go back to work, get my Visa card. Not 10 minutes later, it's not even 9 in the morning. My wife comes out with about our 6-month-old baby. Our baby son, Brady. He's 12 now. And he looks terrible. He's got 105 fever. And I'm like, oh, my God. I said, honey, get in the car, drive to the emergency room. I'll meet you there. I said, I'll close down the house. So I, told the pool guy, do your thing. We'll be back. I followed her to the office, or to the emergency room, got in there. He had a rotavirus at 6 months. I don't know how someone gets a rotavirus, or, a six-month-old does. He was in the hospital for 3 days. Now, mind you, I work for a bank, and I've got excellent insurance. A 3-day stay after my insurance, my payments and co-pays and all the nonsense, and my bill was $8,000. And that was 12 years ago. I'm sure today it'd be 20. And so the moral of my story is I spent $10,000 that I didn't have before 9 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't even leave my backyard. That's what I want students to understand, and everybody, their parents for that matter. If you don't have the cash, you've got to have good credit so you can protect your family and survive. That's the only way I did it. Now, today's a little bit different, but then I couldn't do it. If I didn't have good credit, I would have, my credit would have been messed up for the rest of my life after my American Express story. Now, it's amazing to me that when I did commercial loans, first of all, I'm going to pick on doctors a little bit. So if you're married, your spouse is a doctor, physician, surgeon, forgive me. I just use some of them as an example. Most in the medical profession spend the majority of their time achieving that post. Medical school is no joke. Whether it's dental school, you become a physician, whatever, and the schooling after that, it takes forever. It takes a lot of focus, energy, and hard work to get there, and more power to them. But because of that, I find that a certain portion of them do not take care of their finances. They give it to their spouse to manage their office or their office manager. They have literally got carte blanche to run these individuals' offices. And here's two stories about doctors that didn't work out too well, but I need to share them because the first one was a cardiologist comes in my office, wants a loan for $500,000. Before I waste my time with anybody, I don't care if he's a cardiologist. I run a credit report. Everybody does. That's the first thing everybody does. They run the credit report to see what they're dealing with. Well, this particular individual had like a 560. And I'm like, sir, and I also saw his salary, which was about $500,000 a year. And I'm thinking, good Lord, so I'm trying to explain it to him, and he gets angry at me. He says, well, I can buy and sell you. I said, sir, you probably can, but at least I pay my bills. When I enter a financial contract and I pay my bills and I pay my contracts, he didn't appreciate that too much, but I didn't appreciate the way he talked to me either. So needless to say, we got into it a little bit. I said, here's the bottom line fact, sir. I know you're upset, but I cannot help you. I don't care if you make $500,000 a year. I've had Circle K managers that have better credit scores than cardiologists because they don't pay attention. It wasn't taught. It wasn't considered a priority. In today's world, it is the new economic game. Let me share something with you. Like I said, health insurance, all the insurance companies, employers, everybody's polling them to see what kind of character do you have. Are you a man or woman of your word? Do you honor these contracts? And this is never taught. People, I go in and I'll grab a 6-pack of beer once in a while on the way home. And they say, oh, do you want the card so we can track you? I'm like, no, thank you. No, I don't want my health insurance company knows what I'm doing. They'll track every single thing you do. And I said, I will pay cash for this, and I don't want any kind of tracking on this because my health insurance can go up. I mean, it seems a little bit ridiculous, but it is true. They will track you. And employers, I also like sharing with the students. Let's see, you take two students in the classroom and say, hey, you're both great individuals. And in Yuma, we have Yuma Proving Grounds, which does a lot of testing, a lot of engineers out here. There's a lot of jobs for several $100,000 for engineers. Both of these students are great guys, and they go, and I also throw in the Arizona's a community property state where you owe what your spouse does on this too, on how this can fundamentally transform your life. They're both great students. They like the same girl. They're courting the same girl. They go for the same job. They've become the last two finalists after 1,000 candidates. And what do? They pull a credit report because these candidates are equally matched. They both are equally matched in every way, education, skill, everything. So they said, well, let's reveal their character and pull their credit score. One had a 760, one had a 660. Who do you think got the job? The one with the 760 transformed his life. Who do you think got the lady? The one that can afford her. She doesn't want a little baby diamond. I like teasing the girls. I said, do you want a little baby diamond from your future spouse or a nice little rock? Usually they say they want a nice little rock. It can affect everything you do in your life, from buying a car to a house. And so let's look at the specific scores, and then I'll get into it because I know there's a lot of questions that pop up. I want to wrap up real quick, and then we can get into a lot of different areas. A credit score, like I said, is 300 to 850. And you want to at least be at 700, or the banks don't even look at you. I'll be quite honest with you. You'll see other things when you read, don't believe them. A bank won't even give you the time of day. I think to get government assistance on housing, it's a 660. But why have the lowest credit score? I mean, you've got the ability to manipulate the score. You can do it. So my personal opinion, don't ever let yourself be below 700. When I do commercial loans, to get the best rate, you always see these commercials where the the car places or whatever try and get you in there and bait and switch on approved credit. That's the first thing they do. Anybody doing a finance thing pulls your credit score. So usually 760 or 770 is where you get what we call the A paper or the best rate. So I would say try to be above, if you always want to have the best rate, try and keep your credit score above 770. And you can find out what it is. Like I say, my second story with the doctor, I knew I wanted to go to something else. Even though you do all the right things, you study this pie chart, you go to these websites and use their educational sites and do it, there's one other thing that can kill you out there or kill your financial life or a way to protect your family. It is identity theft. That can affect your credit score more than anything else. Identity theft, white-collar crime, is the fastest-growing crime in the United States today. I don't remember because this is my second thing, but when I came home from the thing, I found out someone's applying for uninsurance on me. And so I had to jump on it right away. But let me tell you another story about a doctor. Because I kind of target physicians and surgeons and doctors, because I know I can help them. I mean, it doesn't take hard because they've got the cash to correct the problem quickly. They just need to address it unless they have a collection, which will be on there for 7 years. It's going to affect your life for 7 years if you got a collection. Bankruptcy, 11 to 13 years, depending on the bankruptcy. Why put your life on hold? I tell the students, you should be buying a townhouse, condo, or house in your 20s because you can develop the good credit that quickly. Don't have to wait. Don't make the mistakes I did. And this is why I had the passion. I couldn't buy I had to buy a condo first. I was about 35 years old. Now, I shifted gears pretty quickly and got my stuff together and made investments, but I literally put my life on hold because of that stupid mistake with the American Express. I don't want to see students have to go through that same thing. You know what? I don't want to see parents have to go through that same thing, or even educators. Like I said earlier, none of us were taught this, even in college. You know, unless you had a rare college, I can tell you I had a stock class in high school, but no one taught me about the importance of credit reports and how crucial they are. So I go into these doctors' offices and I just take my card and say, my name is Jeff Bird. I'd like to do a quick seminar, show how credit scores are crucial to running a business and your financial life. And I was in this one doctor's office, and this gal looked at my card, looked at me, and she goes, I need to talk to you. And I'm thinking, holy smokes, did I know this gal in high school? What's going on here? I have no idea. That was pretty stern. So she marches me back very hard into this back room and slams the door and looks at me. And I want you to hear my words very carefully because it took me twice to understand what she's saying. She said, my 8-year-old daughter has $200,000 on her credit report. And I'm like, excuse me? She said, listen to what I'm saying. I said, I'm trying, ma'am. She said, my 8-year-old daughter has $200,000 on her credit report. I'm like, holy smokes. So, long story short, identity thieves go after the kids. Why? Because the kids and young students do not use their Social Security number until they apply for their first job, apply for college loans. So they have got 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 years to scam people. And it's a pyramid game. They get this cash, they rob from Peter to pay Paul. Oh, they pay the bills for 7, 8 years. Why? Because if you pay your credit card on time, what happens? They give you more credit and more credit and more credit. So they build up all these credit cards to a certain point until they do the cash out. And on this particular girl, they did the cash out at $200,000, and she was 8 years old. It took that family 3.5 years and about $40,000 in lawyers to get that cleared up. Because here's another crucial point that I want students and educators to realize. In the criminal world, you have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. You can get a lawyer, you're presumed innocent until they prove you guilty. In the financial world, you are guilty until you can prove yourself innocent, like this poor little 8-year-old had to do, or her parents had to do. It's going to happen to everybody in our lifetimes. What I'm sharing today is I can't even barely scratch the surface, but I've given you the tools to go to these websites, to go to these people that will control your life, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, go to their education sites and learn about this, but that all can be wiped away in a second with identity theft. And you have to stay on top of it all the time. This is where I would definitely suggest some type of monitoring service. I have a monitoring service from Experian because I figure if I get messed up, I want the company that's going to correct it actually be on it. All of these companies have monitoring services. You've also heard about the other logical ones, LifeLock and all those that identity theft protection. Really, I think any of them are good. I also have Discover as a backup one because with the dark web and everything going on today, like I said, you can have 3 different credit scores. They get different information from different places. So I would do that. If you have a family, I would add my children because they say, well, how would I know my kid has it? Usually you're not until they apply for that first job or apply for college or college loans. They're going to have no idea. One way to get around that is, and this is true, is kind of, playing the game a little bit, but you tell them you suspect fraud. I think someone has my information. And they have to give you a free credit report every single year. And you can check it that way, but like I say, now in the times of COVID, you can check it every single 7 days. And you can get a hold of the credit folks and do that. So even if you do all the right things, identity theft can come in and wipe out what you're trying to do to protect your family, yourself, your financial future. Now, going back to the credit mix real quick, I've told you about the 8-year-old girl. Credit mix, this is one thing that just gets me a little upset, and that is credit mix. You see people that buy these cars they can't afford. Now, in the analytical model that I shared with you, I love having fun with the students and asking, what kind of car do you want? I want a Hummer with spinning wheels, big rims, and state-of-the-art stereo that costs more than their car. And I asked them, so logically, if someone was monitoring the way you manage money, and they saw that your car payment was higher than your rent payment or your house payment, what are they going to think of you? They're going to think that this is a person that does not manage their money well, and your credit score is going to be lower for it. So this is where the education comes in, if you can really drive home these 5 factors, because I'll tell you, I've moved people's credit scores 50, 60 points in 1 month if they've had the cash to pay down some debt and do some things and clean it up. You got to have the cash to pay it down, but the biggest thing is don't get into that debt. Don't get into that cycle. Now, there is a thing about financial literacy curriculum that teachers can utilize. Yes, and this is, I think, one of the best kept secrets across the nation. We have banks in Yuma, Arizona, and Nogales. We utilize everfi.com, everfi.com. Now, we pay the premium for all the high schools in Yuma and all of the high schools in Nogales to bring that service into the schools. And there's various things where they can learn about applying for college, applying for student loans, how to manage a credit card, all kinds of, and the reason I like it, it's kind of an interactive gaming type deal that the kids can relate to. It's not dry. It's kind of gameish with the kind of cartoon characters and the situational analysis where they can do it. But I guarantee you, wherever you're at, or you just call everfi.com and say, if you're in Phoenix or another place, are there any banks or financial institutions underwriting this curriculum in my area? And then go sell it. Yeah, everfi.com right there. And go sell it to the banks or the thing. Most of them already have it and have an allowance there, and schools haven't even added themselves on. That's one tool besides the tools of using the actual sites, the credit sites, to help educate the students, and it's phenomenal. Me personally, and I haven't been able to do this since the first semester, as I love going into the classrooms and being a real person and showing them, hey, I had a pretty privileged life growing up, or at least later when I went to college and had a dad that made a good salary, but he didn't educate me. My school didn't educate me. I had to learn the hard way. I don't want students and families to learn the hard way, because you don't have to go to Harvard or Yale or one of the Ivy League schools to have this. To me, you get a master's in credit knowledge. That, to me, is worth any master's degree or any college degree, because that's the way, as I started this speech, the new economic game is played. It's the credit score. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, who your mommy or daddy are. If you're a cardiologist that makes $500,000 a year, first thing I do when you come into my office is I pull a credit report, because I know what I'm dealing with. Why waste my time? It took me a little while to figure that. I used to, converse with them for a while and learn a little bit. No, I learned a little bit about them after I get the credit score, because I don't want to waste my time. Everybody's time is valuable. And that's the way the game is played today. I want to drive this home to students. Don't make the mistakes I do. You should be able to buy it. Now, in America today, another thing I tell them is it legal to charge? You've all seen these communities with the same amount of square footage, same number of bedrooms. It's just virtually the same house. They're right next to each other in these new communities. Is it legal in the United States today to charge one neighbor more than the other neighbor? Absolutely, because we're telling you how the game is played, because it's based on credit scores. One has a terrible credit score and barely was able to get a loan, and the other one had a great credit score and got the best rate. So let me illustrate this just for a second. So in this scenario, one individual is paying $500 more a month for the same exact house because he's got terrible credit. That's the way the game's played. This other individual is one of my favorite cliches that people argue with me all the time. I said a penny saved is a penny earned, because that's money that you didn't spend. This individual was not spending this money, so he could put that $500 away or use it for a car payment or something else. So real quickly, $500 a month times 12 equals $6,000. You look at home loan payments today. They can go anywhere from, they can be customized, but usually they're 10, 15, or 30 years. Most of the time people go to 30 years because why? It's a lower payment. So this individual that had the lower payment had $180,000 over a 30-year period just by using the brain. And it's amazing to me that you can use your educational power to do this. Okay, I've got Jane here. What is your advice to college students in managing the cost of higher education and student loans? What is the impact of student loan default on someone's future? Well, if you default, it's terrible. Like I said, it's going to be on there for quite a while. Here is my take on it. I know people in their 40s and 50s that still have student loans. That, to me, is ridiculous. For whatever reason, whatever your plan was didn't work out. You should not have student loans in your 50s. You don't have to go to college or have a master's to be successful. In the world today, knowledge is the key. And on the internet, you can get knowledge easily. Maybe you want to go to a trade school. Maybe you got a great job that you don't need it and you're just not a great student. Or, personally, I would suggest going to a community college. Get the cheap credits. Get your associates out of the way. Don't build up that huge debt. And from that, hopefully you can get a scholarship and do that. And that's what I'm trying to educate my son on work ethic right now on, hey, once you hit high school, they start tracking your life, Jack, from every single grade is going to be counted. You can't, smile at them or try and use your cuteness to get out of it. You have to earn it in this life. And I said, that's the whole idea, son. You've got to earn it. And you can help mom and dad by earning good grades and getting a scholarship and helping us pay college. But it's a really tricky situation, and for each individual, it's going to be unique. My personal thing, I would get all my lower stuff done. You can still graduate from ASU or the U of A or Harvard if that's what you really wanted, but you can get all the weed out classes. We all know what weed out classes are out of the way and get your associate's degree, and it might help you decide what you want to do in life a little bit better too, give you a little more time. But my personal opinion, do not accumulate a lot of debt. It will kill you. It will hamper your life. And if you don't handle the situation correctly, it could put your life on hold or make you pay tons of more money. Like in the house example, $180,000 for the same thing. It's legal because we're telling you how the game is played. And just take that across the spectrum. Buying a new car, home entertainment system. These students need to understand it's across the thing. They love uneducated people that don't understand credit, that only understand what a payment is. But seeing someone in their 50s or even 60s having student loans breaks my heart. That money should be being socked away for when they retire. Now, I know we've only got about 9 more minutes. This is my last class, so if you guys want to go a little over, I don't care. Please hit me with questions that have popped up or maybe that I didn't clarify. Usually I go to the schools, I'll go 2 or 3 times because I can't get into all of my stories, which I love. I like being a little self-deprecating humor to let them know it happens to everybody. Don't let it happen to you. So at this time, establishing good credit. You cannot get a credit card, Aaron, until you're 21. It used to be 18. I remember when I was at the U of A, they had the credit card companies lined up. And I was an idiot and signed up and got one and got in trouble that way. That was a whole other conversation with my dad.
You got to teach it.
I forgot you got to pay the bill at the end of the month. So now it's 21. So how can you do it before then? Well, for credit cards, the only way you can do it with a credit card, and I've got to walk the slippery slope here because I've had parents and guardians come at me with pitchforks after I share this. But a parent or a guardian can put a minor on the account, as long as they are the majority holder of the account. That is one way. I am not suggesting it. I'm just giving you all the options. The other way is every other financial contract, when you're 18, you cannot rent a car at 25. You cannot get a credit card, but you can enter a financial contract. So pay your rent on time, pay your water bill, pay your electric bill. They track that. That helps you establish credit. You can buy prepaid credit cards where you can pay ahead of time on the amount and it helps build it up. So there are always ways to skin a cat, but you've got to be very careful the way you do it and do your own research. Personally, I would work with the debit card first. That way you can monitor it a little bit better with the student, educate them, and then let them get their own credit card at 21. But just remember and drive home the fact that every single financial transaction is tracked. And it's like your Social Security card. It's with you till the day you die. And another quick story, speaking of that, I had one of my good friends that owned a bicycle shop here in Yuma. Comes in. He goes, my bank's kicking me out. I said, why is your bank kicking me out, and why weren't you banking with me in the first place? And he started laughing. He said, well, they're kicking me out, Jeff, because I'm dead. I said, well, you look alive to me. He goes, no, I'm dead on my credit report. They switched up his credit report and his father's. Again, like the 8-year-old girl, it took time and money to correct that. Whereas if you've got someone that pays attention and monitors this all the time or has a monitoring service to do it, it's going to save you so many headaches in the future, it's not even funny. And, I just would highly suggest that because, I used to just give the credit score speech, but now identity theft is just as important because it affects your credit score and it can affect your life. So, other questions that maybe I can hit real quick. No other questions?
Hey, Jeff, I actually have one regarding private student loan debt. Been dealing with Sally Mae / Navient. I went to Scottsdale Culinary 17, 18 years ago, and there's no end in sight, but I'm on better ground now than I have been in the past several years, but I'm trying to figure out a best way to perhaps get a loan to pay off that and then actually have an end date in sight, because I've been paying for the last 15 years, but I still owe basically $14,000 more than I took out 17 years ago.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies out there that will do it depending on your credit score. First thing I would do is make sure you got your credit score in line before you attempt it.
Okay.
Because if you attempt it now and not know where there's maybe a mistake or
Right.
a problem on there, it's going to hurt you and say, oh, this guy's been turned down before.
Right.
So get your house in order in that sense. Pull all you can do it today. Call all three and get all three credit reports sent. Now, it's hard to read credit scores. A lot of people don't have that ability. This is why I always say have a relationship with a banker. You can go talk to your banker for hours, and you're not going to get a bill for $1,000 like an attorney or a doctor. We're here to help you, and that's what people don't understand. That's the other thing that I like to advocate is for the banking industry. We have got your best interest in heart because if you don't do well, we don't do well. I mean, no one wants to write off a loan, and people think banks are big, mean banks. I'm like, it's the opposite. We do every single thing we can not to write off a loan because do you think we want somebody running around town saying he foreclosed on my business? But getting back to your question, and we will try and work that out. But I would make, number one, make sure you've got your credit score in line the best you can get it. Pay down that debt and make sure you know where you're at. If you can't read it, go to a thing. I would even maybe invest in a thing just so you find out your actual score. Like I say, most banks won't even deal with you unless you're above 700.
Right.
Once you've done that, look at these companies. Is it SoFi? You know what?
Right.
I did this once, and I think I got it in my record. Send me an email. I'll put my email down real quick, and this is a resource for all of you. And I'll look it up. I had a company because I consolidated mine once, and they were great. I just can't having a little senior moment here, and I can't remember what it was, but I can look it up for you. And there's my email address. So anyway, do that and then refinance it and then chop it down. At least you'll be able to see the light at the end of the rainbow, and you can get these private loans or those loans off your back.
Right.
And help your credit score. And the more you pay it down, the better your credit will get for other things if you want to upgrade a house or get a new car or whatever. And one last thing, there is a numerous amount to make things even more complicated. I almost got a fight with a client, or we almost got in a fight with me because he was mad. I pulled his credit report and I told him, he was buying a truck and said, no, I've got a 740. I said, you are nowhere close to a 740 because I had it, it was like 680. And so anyways, I called my buddy at the car dealership. Car credit or car FICO scores are different than other consumer credit scores.
Interesting.
Believe it or not, in the United States of America, people will let their house be foreclosed before they let you take their car. And that's why they calculate it differently. We talked about the way banks calculate it, but people will keep their darn car compared to their house, and it just blows my mind. So your car FICO score is usually anywhere between 40 and 60 points higher than your regular credit score because people do not let that happen. It's one of the mind-boggling things in life of human nature. Everybody loves their wheels. You know, it gets them in trouble. Any other questions? Let's see. It sounds like
well, excellent, Jeff. Thank you so much for the information. Obviously, you believe strongly in this and speak passionately about it. And you know, I thought I knew something about it, but you definitely shared some things today with me that I just wasn't aware of. Thinking about my own kids, my kids are a little bit older. My youngest is 17, hence the question about how we help them establish credit. I've got another that's 21 and one that's 23. So helping them navigate that and be smart about it. It's different than it was 30 years ago when it was pay your bills on time. Now there's so much to it. It's so complicated. So definitely helpful to think about that. And it may seem a little odd when we're talking about career pathways and kids getting jobs, but like the example that you gave of the cardiologist, you can go get a fantastic job making great money and still not be able to buy a house or a car or anything else because of that burden. So just so helpful. And I know you said you speak in classrooms regularly and you're in Yuma, but we do have some folks in Tucson and such, and you know, would love the opportunity to reach out and see if you'd be willing to Zoom in or Skype in or WebEx into some of our schools here in Tucson, or maybe you know some folks here in the Tucson area or Phoenix area that you could bring on board to share. So just thank you so much for your time today. And thanks for everybody for being on.
You bet, Aaron, and I'll just say real quickly because I know a lot of you guys got to go. I go to Nogales a couple times a year.
Oh, great.
As you can see, I'm not a huge fan of technology, especially when I get a new laptop and they have it dialed in. I'm a dinosaur. I like being face to face. If that is something that is really interested in you, I can work out an extra day to stop by Tucson because I do Rio Rico High School and I do Nogales High School. And you can call either one of those high schools and see how the students like it. I'd be happy to give you a day once we get out of this nonsense of COVID and things get back to normal.
That sounds good, Jeff. Really appreciate it. I'm sure you'll have some folks reaching out, but thanks so much for your time today.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. See you later, Aaron.
See everybody later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.